you all for being here. We will start this evening with the roll call. Suzanne.
Thank you. Mayor Levy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harvey. Here. Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Saunier.
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer.
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. If you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 3 and the farewell statement by our outgoing city manager. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Mayor Levy. Before I forget, I just want to remind the community that there's going to be a gathering at the Cultural Center on Saturday evening at 5:30 to celebrate all the things that have been accomplished over the last few years with everyone's involvement associated with that. So everyone is welcome to attend. Mayor, Council, and community, as I reflect back over the last 20 years of sitting at this dais serving this community, first is 10 years as the Public Works Director and 11 years here as your city manager, several things come to mind. As we said the Pledge of Allegiance, I've had the privilege of saying the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag for that last 21 years. But what it's also offered me the opportunity is to watch the backs of the heads of many of our mayors and watch them grow balder and watch their hair turn more gray. It's been an interesting observation point. But as I continue looking around these chambers that are so important to all of us in our local form of government, I want to share with you some of the things that I see. The first thing I see is the Corps of Engineers flag. That was my first exposure to the city of Woodland Park as the Battalion S3 for the 4th Engineer Battalion. My family and I were in Lyons Park in a very cold May day when the official recognition of the partnership between the city of Woodland Park and the 4th Engineer Battalion occurred. The silver coins on the left belonged to Bob Creer, who was one of the battalion commanders, and when I told him that we were doing this plaque, he readily shared those with me. The ones on the right were from Laura, and I can't recall her last name, one of the other battalion commanders, and she shared those with me after a tour in Iraq, where she was severely injured. I'm thrilled that we still have this partnership with the 4th Engineer Battalion. It's been going on since 1992. I thank the council for allowing this community to maintain that partnership. I think it's incredibly important that we remember that we do important stuff here, but there are people who lay their lives on the line every single day to keep our country free. Please, I beg you, keep that partnership with the 4th Engineers alive and well. I look at the flags. Look at the flags that are folded up. Those came from Congressman Joel Heffley, the U.S. flag. My daughter and I, when she was a senior in high school, folded those flags and placed them in those cases. We folded the American flag actually in a different way to show the red, white, and blue. Darwin Nacarado said, that's not the way to do it. That's the inappropriate way to display the American flag. We changed it. Thank you, Darwin. As I continue around, the Declaration of Independence given to this august group by Bill and Dorothy Walsh. They lived on King's Crown. He had been a professor at the University of Wisconsin, a wonderful man who served this community well in a variety of capacities. And as I look around to the Les Midlott Junior Civic Achievement Award, I knew Les. And I knew the characteristics that he exemplified in this community. And I know the vast majority of the people that are on that list, and I got to serve with them. And it was a true privilege to work with them over the years, and it's a real pleasure to see their names. Some of their spouses are in the audience this evening. Some of them may be in the audience this evening. And as I continue around, of course, another historic artifact is Bill Page, standing in the corner there. Bill, hi, Bill. As you look at the historic pictures, it reminds us of what Woodland Park used to be. The timber industry, the transportation corridors, the railroad industry, and the bell that Glenn and Lois Sill donated to the city. And as we continue around, I look at the video booth where Chrissy is. A young Eagle Scout candidate built that for the community, and that young man now serves in our United States Air Force as a C-17 pilot, serving multiple tours in combat zones. He's now training other young pilots on that aircraft. And as I continue around in that back corner is the story of us, the painting, the mural that's on the Cultural Center. And it starts, of course, with Chief Uray and goes all the way up to, I think, about the mid-'60s based on some of the cars that are in there. But it truly is the story of Woodland Park and how it progressed through history and the changes that have occurred in that time frame. And then the log disc came from the improvements in Memorial Park. You can see that the tree was starting to suffer, and when we cut it down, we decided we needed to do something with it. So the Public Works Department created that disc and put some historical notes on that, again, to remind us of our past. And then the 5 different types of trees that are in Woodland Park, not Woodless Park, and the description of those trees, and then the birdhouse that our Public Works Director's dad built in the early 40s and gave that to us to place on these trees. That completes my historical historical circuit of these hallowed chambers. But these chambers aren't about our past necessarily. They're very much about our future and the future of what this community can do. I believe that municipal government is the closest form of government for those that are elected and those that are served. I mean, if you look around the room, these are the people that you see in Walmart, that you see in Safeway and City Market, in the park, at parades. It's the closest form of government. It's the easiest to contact your elected officials and the administration that serves them. Most days that's good. Some early mornings in Safeway it's not so good. But it's the best form of government, I think, and it's primarily because this body, the City Council, you may recall from your civics lessons in high schools that they're the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of our federal government. All those branches are embodied in these 7 people. They get to do all of that. It's one-stop shopping for things that happen in our community. And why do they exist? Why do we exist? Primarily to provide for the safety and well-being of this community. That's why we must have a strong police force. We must have good roads. We must have good water, good sewer, good drainage. Those things that are safety for the community. That's why we exist. Everything else is gravy. It's good stuff, but it's gravy. We do the gravy very well. I believe we provide the safety of this community very well as also. This body is nonpartisan. At this level of government, it's about community, not about politics. It's about doing best for as many of you as they possibly can. It's not about groups, it's about the community. Keep it nonpartisan. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it is by law. I want to thank this council and all the other councils that I've served over the years. I want to thank the citizens of Woodland Park for your participation in this best, most intimate form of government. You've never hesitated to get involved in the activities of this community, and because of that, we're a significantly better community. I want to thank the staff, and I see many of them in the audience tonight, for without this dedicated, trained, professional staff, nothing would get done. They get it done every day, and they do it very well. Like me, they wake up every day wanting to make this a better place to live. I see many of my friends in the audience, and I thank you immensely. I have some of my family here, my devoted spouse who has lived with me for the last 42 years in public service, both to our country and to this community. She's been the wind beneath my wings. My son and his wife and 2 grandkids are here as well. They arrived from Kentucky last night. My daughter gets in a little bit, as well as my 91-year-old father-in-law. I've practiced this a little bit, but I'm still not perfect. And lastly, I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to serve this community. It's very important to me to have a strong faith, and He has guided me and kept me strong in some really, really tough times. I think my last comment would be I've always only wanted the best for this community. I always have, and I always will. Thank you.
that's going to be a hard one to follow, that's for sure. And so I'm going to reserve comment for a couple minutes. I know there's a number of folks that want to comment relative to David and his service and his retirement, so we'll do that after we'll take comment from those on council that would like to say something. I think this would be the appropriate time. Kenny, why don't you start for us?
Well, I just, excuse me, had a few comments about David. The 33 years I've been here, I've been fortunate to work with many different, both council people, but also city managers. For 18 of those years, either on planning commission or on council, and I would say wholeheartedly, David is the best of the best. And I really have appreciated his work, his honesty, his integrity that he's brought to this community, and he will be sorely missed. And we really, really appreciate it. And I'll miss you a lot. I'm glad you're going to stay in the community, though. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Council Paul.
I'd like to thank you for your service, and I pray that you will have a happy, prosperous retirement with your family and your grandchildren. Thank you for your service.
Anybody else? John.
I want to thank David for his service, not just here in Woodland Park, but in the Army before that time. Like Paul, I pray that you and your family will have a long, prosperous, and happy retirement here. We'll try to follow your guidance. Not here necessarily, but I know you'll be active in the community as well. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you, David, for your service. Many years of public service, 42, I hear. That's a tremendous dedication to the public and a rare gift to the community. And once again, as everybody said, I hope a prosperous and meaningful and restful retirement for you. But thank you very much for your service.
Okay, I'll try without getting emotional. What I will offer is sincere thanks, but also the opportunity to call on my husband, who has learned how to retire gracefully. If you need someone to go fly fishing with, to go golfing with, to go canoeing with, please call on him. You know you can. Both Gary and I will thank you again on Saturday night, but publicly, I have to let you know this man has guided me from the time I applied for the Planning Commission and really didn't even know what a Planning Commission was. I just wanted to be involved in our city government, in our community in that way. But since that time, and I don't even remember how many years ago that was, but you were the city manager when that occurred. And then since being elected to city council, you've been an inspiration. You've certainly taught me a lot of things. Obviously, we don't always agree, and that's good. But you have respected my opinion, and I have always respected yours, David. So thank you to you and Tamara, and this is just the beginning, guys. It gets better after this. It really does. And we'll talk with you both again on Saturday night, but thank you both.
Noel.
I guess I wanted to tell a story, but I'm not very good at these stories. I know your wife very well because I do their computer work, and so Tamara and I would, when I met Tamara, I didn't know that you were the city manager. Her husband was the city manager, and so we would talk about the city over and over, and then when I ran for council, I put two and two together, and I went, oh. So when I got on council, the learning curve was amazing, and David was there every step to help me learn. So thank you, and what you've done for me, you cannot learn anything up here in a classroom. I have to tell you, and what David knows, he could write a book after book after book. And actually, I should advise you to write a book. That would be great. The History of Woodland Park by David Buttery. There you go. But thank you very much, and you will be sorely missed. And what you've taught me, I can never learn anywhere else. So thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure the community, your knowledge is going to be missed. So I hope you do come to some council meetings and give us some history lessons. So thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to start with folks from the audience, and Stephanie Luck is signed up. Some of these people don't want to speak necessarily in this regard, so if you let me know, not. Okay, thank you. Mario Trimble. Mario? You please. Please.
Pardon me if I get a little nervous. Those of you who have been on the council for a while know that I can get nervous when I'm at this lecture. And this is a big occasion for me. So I'm bond counsel my firm, QTAC Rock, out of Denver, is bond counsel for the city. We do a lot of the legal work when it comes to financings, Memorial Park, a lot of the wastewater and water deals we've done, whether it's locally or with the CWRPDA. Of course, the decades-long saga that was the Aquatic Center. We have represented the city and been partners with the city and with David and his team for many years. But I stood at this lectern next to my partner, who has since retired, Bill Gorham. And I listened as Bill explained the nuances of a deal to the council, fielded questions, and I started to feel a little bit surplus to requirement. I'm seeing him there kind of holding his briefcase, and he's talking, and I'm just I'll button up my coat, unbutton it. And at some point, and I was telling the story earlier, at some point, I looked up, afraid to make eye contact with any of you lofty people, and I noticed that device in the corner. And I realized this was being broadcast in the entire city. I kind of nudged Bill, okay, Mario, okay, you'll get your time to talk. And I nudged him again, and he kind of glanced at me sideways, and I nodded up at him. And he looked up at me, and he realized this was being broadcast in the entire city. And it occurred to both of us, and we talked about this with the back home. This is a community. This is, look at this audience. You're all here engaged. And I've been in front of a lot of councils, a lot of boards of directors, boards of trustees for various different entities. And I haven't seen this level of participation, this level of engagement very often. It's unique, and I hope you all realize that. And I turn and I look at David. And I see that same engagement in David. I saw it the first time I worked with him on a deal. And I've seen it every day of the 14 years since. And I'm honored to be here. Oh, I should say one thing. I'm not feeling nervous. And that's significant because I don't have to make these sorts of trips, and in fact, I have not made these trips very often. But it means a lot to me to be here for David's last council meeting. I bring you greetings, by the way, from Bill Gorham and from the rest of the team at QTAC. We're all very, very sad to see you go, but very happy for you that you're making this transition in your life, and it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that you will be a part of this community. And so the next time I come up, I'll come a little early, and maybe we'll get coffee or wander around the city and look at all the things that we've helped finance and build together. Something like that. I'll leave you with one last thought, and it's something my father told me about marriage. I have been married for a little over 10 years now, and on the day I got married, my father said, "I want you to know, son, you may think that you have to agree on everything. You don't. It's not two heads becoming one. It's two hearts becoming one. A perfect marriage is two heads, one heart. And that's what I've seen in David's love of this city, this community, certainly his wife. And this council. I know that may come as a shock to some of you, and I may have shocked up past councils at times. David believes in what he believes in, but he will listen. And he listens from the heart. And I'm sad to see that heart not present at this dais moving forward. But I do have one last thing for you. As you move forward, if I may approach.
I'm not going to stop you.
When you wake up on that first day of your retirement, and I didn't know if you preferred coffee or tea, and you decide that you want to enjoy a nice cup of locally roasted coffee, or perhaps locally grown tea. You can enjoy that coffee or tea in one of our I do have to say, thank you especially to Aaron, by the way, who pointed out that I had to keep the gift under $50. And thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you.
Okay, Derek Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to address David about some things, but I want to thank the council, especially those that won't be here next time, that for the service you guys have done. I know it's a big job, tough decisions, and we really appreciate it. It's critical to our community, so thank you very much. And you got a big job in front of you to replace David. It's going to be a difficult task. I don't participate in social media, but somebody pointed out to me some documents that had become public, and one of the council people said that they wanted to expose David Buttery. And have you ever seen a dog that gets defensive or gets protective and the back comes up on its head? That's what I did. But I got over that and realized, he's right. We do need to expose David Buttery. We need to expose him for who he is. And that's what I want to do now. As far as being an honest man, I don't think he knows how to be dishonest. So some of this information that's going around that he's cooking the books or doing things like that, I don't understand it at all. He's as honest a man as I've ever met. He's a man of character. There are no internal conflicts. What you see is what you get. He's at peace with himself. He is who he is. There's no hidden secrets there. And I've known several city managers over the years that I've lived here. And some have been good, some have been not so good. David has been excellent. As Ken said, the best he's ever seen here. And I think part of that was that he got to grow up into it. He was the public works director for 10 years. He knew what the city was about. He brought his kids here, his family, his wife. They moved into this community. They got involved. This was their home. This was not a stepping stone to some other municipality. And when the city manager job came up, he knew what was involved. He knew exactly what needed to be done, and that he thought he could contribute to that. So fortunately, he was hired to do that. So I think that did help him in being the great city manager he was. And he really wanted to know this community. He took a lot of time to get to know the history and preserve as much as was practical to do that. I've really admired that about him. He loves the history of this community. And because it's his home. And David is a leader. And a leader doesn't just operate from a position of authority. A leader has the ability to build quality teams. And the staff is an example of that. All of our staff here is a great example of that. They're a pleasure to work with, and they're very, very capable. And they tend to be loyal to a leader because They can trust him, and they can see the goals that he puts out in front of them. And David is a leader. He sets the bar, and he leads by example. And quality leaders like David have the ability to block out distractions or opposing forces or keep emotions in check and not let ego get in front of their decisions, for the good of the organization, being the city in this case. And his communication skills are wonderful. He's the most patient communicator I know. How many times does he have to repeat himself? How many times does he have to take people into his office and explain things? And he does it with love and patience. And I think it's a time for grace now. This election is over, thank goodness, and I think it's a time for grace. So you guys can start working out of respect for one another and building on this so that we can have a future community that David has been part of this last 20 years. So, just want to say that my wife Connie and I really commend David for the good job you've done. And we want to thank you.
Catherine Perry.
Catherine Perry, 330 Ponderosa Court. And I'm here on behalf of also my husband Tony, who loves to sit on the back row and stand in the back if he can. I just want to say, during your tenure as our Public Works Director, I, like many others, probably took you for granted. I never knew you were there, which is the beauty of Public Works. You only know it when it's bad. But during your tenure as our city manager, I have watched this town blossom beautifully. And our daughter came in from, she now lives in California, not born here, but raised here. And yesterday on our way to the post office, we passed Memorial Park. She didn't even know. And she gasped. And she turned to me and she said, "It's just beautiful." And the credit for that largely is due to you, David. And today I picked up my mother from Texas at the Colorado Springs airport. And as we drove into town, she didn't know she was going to get to go to your retirement party. As we drove into town, she said, "When I'm not here, I forget how majestic this place is." And again, I think that reputation that we have of being a majestic little place, a lot of that credit is due to you, David. And I know one thing that we share is a love of Scripture. And Scripture tells us, without a vision, the people perish. And during your tenure, you provided that vision. And you cast that vision so that others would catch the vision. And through that, you led us well. And I want to commend you for your leadership. Because without it, Woodland Park as we know it today would not be the majestic little place that it is. Thank you.
Michael Dalton.
Absolutely. Michael Dalton, 413 Woodland Avenue, Woodland Park, Colorado, also known as the Underground. I could sit here and say everything that these people have said before you. My water goes down clean, fresh water, my roads are plowed. You've done a great job as a city manager. That's not how I judge men, though. See, I've pinned microphones on kings. I've pinned microphones on presidents. And I've pinned microphones on the city manager of Woodland Park. I could judge you from interviews, and I would still look at that and go, I just don't know. See, to judge a man, to judge a leader, you talk to his secretaries. I know all your secretaries. They have nothing but the greatest things to say about you. You want to go a little deeper? You talk to their children. I've messaged back and forth with David Buttery's daughter on multiple occasions. But if you want to go deeper, You speak with their wives. Your wife is here today to support you. She's always been behind you. Trust me, I know. She's messaged me. So I can stand before everyone. I can stand before the citizens and say, I've talked to the man's secretary. I've pinned microphones on him and interviewed him. But I wife, and your wife loves you. And she shared you with us for 21 years. And I thank her for that. I could be off on numbers. But I promise you, I thank her for that. Because we are privileged that she shared us with the city of Woodland Park.
Okay, I'm sure there are others that aren't signed up. Would anybody else like to come forward and say a couple words? So, wrong again, Mayor. Well, I guess I'll take this opportunity. I'm happy that everyone that joined us at the podium had considerable emotion. And I just say that in preface because you all know how I am. And so bear with me. I didn't prepare anything, but I think I know what I want to say. And start with, I'm just proud. I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of the people in this room. And a lot of that pride comes from the opportunity that I've had to sit in this seat and to be a part of this community for the last 25 years. A big part of that time, I was fortunate to be involved with David in any number of ways, different boards, and so I grew to know him and certainly respect him, and our relationship couldn't be any stronger now than I could possibly imagine. He is how would I put this? He is a family first, faith, friend guy. That would be probably my best way to describe him. And he's taught me a lot. He's the guy that came to me the day that I got nominated, selected by process in this room, and took me upstairs and said, you know what, Neil, we're going to do our best to make you look good. And certainly did that, but what he really meant is we're going to continue to work to make this a great, great community, and you, as our leader, will benefit from that. And he's taught me so much. Not so much about sitting here, but just about those things I talked about: his family, right? His faith, his friends, and all that really resonated with me. So, you know, it's really helped me. So, I thank you for that. You know, in terms of being a city manager, I think he's always checked all the boxes. He really has. He hires great people to start with, and then he lets them do their job. Right? I mean, what could be better? All these staff members sitting here and in the audience, they get to do their job. They're not micromanaged. This is the expectation, and you go do it. You take ownership, and it'll make you a better person, and it'll make us a better community. But more than that, I think he's been a great leader. And leadership for me, after all these years, I just kind of figured it out in the last Who knows? But my word for leadership now, I think, will resonate with everybody, and that's influence. He influences more people in his life than I can ever imagine, starting with the people that work for him, actually starting with his family, starting with the folks that work for him, being a leader at his church, and in everything he does. And so this is the reasons that we've become so close, because of his leadership and his influence, not just on me, but all those around me and around us. And I see the influence that he's had, not just in this community. Others have alluded to it. You know, certainly I've been fortunate to go to Fort Carson any number of times. And I've got this whole new appreciation of our military that I never ever had before. And so I'm thankful for that. But you should see the influence that he has there. So it's not just here, and it's not just being a manager and being a great leader. He's always done things really the way your mom told you, right? It's not what you do. Everyone knows the rest of that. And he has done it right. He has done it right. And so it's not the things that he's done for me, because everyone can go on and on about parks and pools and trees and streets and water and all those things. And that's what he's expected to do, and that's what he's done well. But more than that, he's done it. He's done it by obeying and really respecting our core values for the city. And so I asked him to bring a card up here because I didn't even remember exactly. But nobody will be able to argue with this. Our core values: customer service, integrity, stewardship, team building, respect, loyalty, and trust. For me, nobody does it better. And so, we all thank you for that. And the rest of the story is this. We've had some tough times. And we need to move forward. And I truly believe that we're going to see a great new city council, regardless of who it is. I'm thrilled to have Hillary and Kelly as part of our council, because I think they'll really help us in working together. But for all of us that remain here and that will be here, let's take a page out of David Buttery's book. Go home and think about it. Let's try to figure it out. Not for you and not for me. Right? For everybody. Because we can be a lot better than we are. And we're pretty good right now. So I beg of all of you, not just those that are sitting here to my left or to my right, all of you in the audience, and everybody you know, you'll never live in a better community that you live in right now. So do us all a favor. Do anything you can to be a positive force on our efforts to help make Woodland Park a better place to live, just like David Buttery has done for the last 21 years. Okay, we move on. We have no additions, deletions, or corrections. And Suzanne, the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening, we have one item on the consent calendar, and that is the approval of the minutes of the March 15th, 2018 council meeting.
Council, any questions? If not, we'll call for motion to approve the minutes of March 15th and the consent calendar.
Move approval of the minutes for March 15th as presented.
Second. Thank you. Suzanne?
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. We'll move on to unfinished business. And Aaron Smith.
Mayor and council, I have nothing to report for you at this time, and you will receive a report on the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No ordinances on initial posting or public hearings, nor do we have any new business tonight. So we will move on to public comment on items not on the agenda, and we'll start with Stephanie Luck. Stephanie, if you give us your name and address, please.
My name is Stephanie Luck. My address is 959 M Street in Penrose. And I am here to introduce myself, but I have to first say that I am overwhelmed. I live in a small community, and this type of love and appreciation and care for one another is what we've been trying to build for a number of years now. And I feel like we all have to take a road trip and just come and sit in one of these meetings and learn from you guys. I'm reminded of a passage that says, "Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest." And it seems to me you have more than one harvest. And so I too, even though I'm not a resident, thank you for your service and for everyone else's service. It's wonderful. The reason I wanted to introduce myself was because I too have that servant heart and want to build a state where people can thrive. And so I have put my hat in the ring to become the state senator for this district. I've been walking door to door for the last few months trying to get to know people and what's on their hearts. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself to you and to let you know that hopefully I'll be knocking on your door sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's all I have on my list. Do we have anyone else that would like to make comment? Mr. Dalton?
I didn't sign up twice. I'm sorry if there was two different things. I wanted to say something to the outgoing council members. I want to thank you for your service that you've given to Woodland Park. For you, for sure, because you're for sure gone. And just 'cause you I understand that it's a crazy game. And the fact that you stood up as someone to represent the city for 4 years, you sat through your 4 years and you committed to your term and you finished it out. I respect that. And I think you need to be recognized for that. For Noel and John, if you guys don't make it back, I know the numbers aren't in yet. I say the same thing to you. I truly respect that men stand up in their community and serve, whether we agree or disagree. The fact that men will stand up today is something that isn't found in a lot of places. Men don't stand up and discuss things about their community anymore, and I respect that about you. For the rest of you guys, and I've learned more about leadership watching you on council than I can say for most men. For the rest of the men up there, Paul and Val, no matter whether we or not agree, I respect that you sit there, you went through the process, you played the game, and you were there. Because most men don't. We only had 6. We had a couple of mayor candidates. And the fact that people throw their lives and their willingness to serve their community is to be respected. And I think that since the council may look different in a couple of weeks, it needs to be said.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to mayor's reports. I have a few announcements tonight. Okay, Wednesday, April 11th, 8 to 10, age-friendly business training hosted by the Woodland Park Chamber at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. Age-friendly business training. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but okay. Thursday, April 12th, 5 to 7, the Chamber Business Expo at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. Always a great event. Next Saturday, week from Saturday the 14th, from 9 to 1, the Winners Farmers Market at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. And finally, Tuesday, April 17th, from 5:30 to 7, business after hours at the Woodland Professional Building. And that's all I have. Carol?
At the next council meeting, I will have a report from the Historical Preservation Committee. We've successfully designated 3 very important buildings in our main business district for special designation that will come to the council for consideration at the next meeting, and Sally will have a report then. I have nothing else.
Thank you. Val?
Thank you, sir. Can you pass those down, please? First of all, I want to congratulate Mayor Levy on his election to mayor for another 2 years, and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
It's an interesting job. I also, on behalf of Main Street, I'm going to talk about the Nonprofit Expo, which is on Saturday, April 14th, from 2 to 4. It's all full with 35 attendees, nonprofits. Everybody's welcome. It's a free public event. Please come and talk with the nonprofits there. A lot of volunteers in this community will be represented at that meeting, and it should be a good event. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenny?
Just everybody keep an eye out for Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. The annual spring cleanup for Woodland Park is coming up, and we'll be teaming up and working again with the Friends of the Forest. So we'll be cleaning up Woodland Park and working with them and cleaning up some of the places in our forest, which unfortunately need it pretty bad as well. So keep an eye out for all the activities that are going on there, and as before, there will be, I guess you call it a picnic at the Cultural Center outside as there was last year. Keep an eye out for that in the papers and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Paul?
I'd like to thank everybody for their participation in the elections and for the judges and all the people behind the scenes. Suzanne. Thank the police department. Your job is tough, and I appreciate all the security. For Mayor Levy, I wish you and pray that you have a great mayorship and that things go very smoothly here. I'm very happy to participate tonight and to see all the people in the audience, the participation. Thank you very much. Have a great night. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Noel?
I'll start out that the DDA meeting is now moved to next Tuesday for all of you that want to get up that early. So it'll be here on the 10th.
This coming Tuesday.
Yeah, because of the election and because this room was being used, we didn't have it last Tuesday. So it's being moved. The other thing is congratulations, Neil, on being mayor. Congratulations, Hillary LeBar, right here. She's right there. Great. And Kelly Case, congratulations. You guys are going to do great up here. So, and you did a very good campaign, and I'm impressed. And so I'll take some advice from you next time, if there is a next time. Congratulations. And then John and I are obviously in a runoff, and that's about it. What time is... Oh, the DDA meeting's always at 7:30. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, everybody is. Lots of coffee.
John?
Some of you may know that Noel and I are 2 votes apart right now. And the process, as it's been laid out and explained to some of us by Suzanne, will probably have to wait until Friday the 13th to get an answer. Yeah. I don't know why that is. Suzanne probably arranged that. Yeah. No, so it'll be perhaps someone else. Mark Maruzak is, I think, 12 votes behind. So with maybe 30 ballots yet to be counted, it might possibly not be Noel or myself. It was a tough election, and I hope we can move forward, as Neil has said. I too am happy to see that Hillary and Kelly are joining the council. There must be a message from the voters that we need more of a feminine touch here at the council than we've had. Yeah. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Yep. Good luck to you. Whatever that means. Right? And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Okay, move on to City Attorney.
And Mayor and Council, I do have a brief report. First, I would like to congratulate Mayor Levy on his election, and as well Ms. LeBar and Ms. Case. And what you will be hearing from me with regard to an orientation. And we will sit down and have schedule a time that works for you both once we get our election process over with, and we will schedule that with you. So look forward to that, and I look forward to meeting and sitting with you both. And then I do always have, not always have a report, and when I do it's brief, so let me make a brief statement, and let me just say that City Manager David Buttery is a perfect city manager. Sitting here as the city attorney, I can say that, and when I say that, what I mean is, no, he's not flawless, because we're all human, and nobody is flawless. But what I mean is that Mr. Buttery, in my experience, has been the model of giving his best effort. And so when you look at good, better, best, Mr. Buttery is in the category of best. Let me just say that I'm privileged to know you and honored to have worked with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, City Manager's report.
I'm going to speak for Suzanne tonight. Her voice is gone from the election process and answering questions and things, so I will give the quick election recap and look to Aaron for additional help should I need that, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions, or all of us together, from the council. The community should have received the message from Suzanne a couple of days ago. The election results are interesting at best, primarily driven by a couple of new laws, those that give folks who are serving overseas, either in the military or as missionaries, extra time for their ballots to be received. They have to be voted by the end of the day of the election. They get an extra 8 days for the mail to deliver them to us. That same 8 days also applies for signatures that must be verified. And so our judges take the ballots, actually pull up a state-level database, and compare the signatures side by side. If those signatures don't match, then there's a discrepancy, and the voter has 8 days to come in and verify that. And so we go through a process of notifying them. Sometimes it's just that the handwriting is so illegible that the comparison can't be made. But in most cases, it's because a voter hasn't had a chance to register with the state so that their signature is on the state database. So as Mr. Schaefer points out, that process won't be fully resolved at the earliest, that's not true, at the latest really until April 13th. Should we get all the 22 overseas ballots back in, should we get all the 12 signature discrepancies resolved before the deadline, we'll pull the judges together, we'll execute the election, and we'll come out with the results. Then, before it's official, it has to be surveyed by our municipal judge, and there's 2 days associated with that. The candidates have been advised that we're not going to resolve this completely until before the next council meeting. So it's our hope that we will be able to seat the new council members on April 19th. All of this goes to heck in a handbasket if the numbers are so close that we have to do a recount. So stand by. So as I said, as many of you have said before, it's been an interesting election. We're following state statutes. We're following our city charter to the letter. And this is the way that we know is the right thing to do for this community. Are there any questions from council on this election process?
Yeah, David, I got one. Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone else have their hand up?
No.
I just have one. Requisite for a recount.
I believe it's 1/2% of the votes, and what I don't know is of the
larger number.
Of the larger number. So, for example, right now there would be a mandatory recount between Schaefer and Sawyer because it's 996 votes for Schaefer. Let's call that 1,000. 1% is 10. 0.5% is 5. They're within the 5, so there would have to be a recount for that election. If after the 34 ballots are received or not received for both Uokava and the signatures, if that is still within that 0.5%, then we'll have to do a recount.
Thank you.
There were 2,200 ballots cast, and as I mentioned, we have 34 that are still outstanding, and they have until April 11th to either be received or to get their signatures verified. Other questions from the council on this? Sir?
Would a recount take 2 days?
We could do it in a day.
Could be done in 1 day. I'll interpret.
Shirley's here too.
Yeah, and Shirley, the head election judge, is here too, and she and her team are standing by to do this again if we need to. Yes, sir.
Were there any returned ballots that?
Oh, quite a few.
Undeliverable?
Quite a few.
Quite a few?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And that's not an abnormal number.
Oh, so
people move and don't tell us.
There's a lot of people moving.
Well, I use that as only as an example.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How do we know there are 22 ballots that have been identified as qualifying for the extra 8 days?
Because we knew exactly how many went out to those individuals who are either in the military or missionaries, as examples, overseas. And that number was about 60. And if that number was 60 and it was close to that, we received 38 of those back. So we know the delta is 22. So we actually know those by number. They're a special number on the ballot, so we can monitor every single one that comes back in.
If I may add just one thing in my voice. As council will recall, the military overseas ballots get sent out prior to our ballots. We've spoken about that. They're different envelopes. They're very different the way they're sent out. They're sent out from the city clerk's office, where the other ones are a mass mailing from our election company. So we keep close watch on those ballots.
Thank you. One more question. A tie. What happens with a tie?
That's when I look to our city attorney.
And I will have to provide that answer to you.
We're
but I
not
believe
going to do from a hat, are we?
It actually.
Oh, jeez.
State statute provides that the city clerk administers a drawing. And I will confirm that for you, but that is my recollection of having looked at that several years ago.
I suspect that if there's a tie, we would do a recount and a recount just to make sure. But then it's done throughout the country as games of chance. Nobody likes
arm wrestle?
that.
Can we do something? I think that. Sure. We're going to arm wrestle.
Yeah, that would be a game of no chance, I think. Other questions from the council on that? Then, and we have no other staff reports tonight, but my last comment is I'm humbled by kind comments. It's been quite moving. I wish you're very kind. My last day is Friday the 13th, so I'm out the door before the election is determined. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Shirley, something on the election?
If you do, Shirley, I'm going to ask you to please come forward. Thank you. And name and address, please.
Shirley Douthit, 1060 Research Drive, and I have been the lead election for this, the lead election judge for this election. I just want to make the point that any recount, as in the original count, is being done by machine, not by hand. It's not subject to human error. The machine was calibrated ahead of the election by doing over 100 test ballots, which were manually counted twice and then put to the machine to make sure they match. So there is, in my mind, there's no question that the count, any count, the current one or a recount is accurate. I just want to put that out there for the public.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's all the staff has this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We move on to comments on written correspondence, and Aaron Smith, do I have something? Do you have something for me? You don't? Okay, I'm sorry I didn't open this. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read this, so I will. No, not supposed to read that. Okay. Before we adjourn, I just want to say one last thing. You live and learn, and I sat in this seat 4 years ago and had never even sat on planning. I'd never been part of any government. Certainly, a couple of trips to a city council meeting was my experience, and so I've really feel like I've learned a lot, and hopefully I continue to learn and continue to grow and hopefully lead our community well. That said, one of the things that people have said to me is you're not strong enough when you're on council. You don't challenge people. You could be stronger. And the analogy was, which I thought was a great one, was you're harder on your baseball team than you are on your council members. And so this came to mind when that came. If any of you have seen any of my guys wearing their gear this year, the last couple of months, our mantra, if you will, for the year is simple. It's with love and respect, we will win. And so all of our shirts have love, respect, and win on our shirts. And when we meet and we play and we love each other and we hug each other when we're gone, when we leave, and it's an environment that allows us to be successful. And I feel that more than ever in this room tonight. And I've sat here for 4 years. And so think about this again. Think about where we've gone, where we've been, and where we're going. And I promise you, if we do that, with love and respect, we will win. Thank you very much.